YouTube, welcome back to Maxwell Starr's beer review. Tonight we're going to take a look at a growler of beer from the brew tub. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Maxwell Starr's beer review. Tonight we're going to take a look at a growler of beer from the brew pub here in St. John, New Brunswick. Going to take a look at Big Tide Brewery's Kingston Honey Nut Brown Ale. Kingston Honey Nut Brown Ale is named Kingston Honey Nut Brown Ale because it uses real honey made from bee farms or whatever they call it. Up in Kingston, New Brunswick, which is Kingston Peninsula, just north of here. If you go on the other side of the Kennebecasis River, either by the Milledgeville Ferry or Nola Point Ferry, or drive all the way around to Hampton and go that way, you can get into the beautiful end of they call it Kingston Peninsula. Actually, I have a video on my YouTube here that where I actually drove through Kingston Peninsula. Very nice country. Anyway, blah blah blah. The beer. Yes, so it's an English-style brown ale made with honey, and it's a nut brown. So. From what I've been told, it's got a similar recipe to the Indian Beach Nut Brown Ale that I reviewed last fall, but it's not quite the same. This one uses honey, and I don't think it uses the same wet hops that the other one does, but who knows. Yeah, so the addition of Kingston Peninsula honey sounds actually really quite good, so why don't we pop the top off of this one and see what it's like. Now, they weren't sure, 100% certain what the ABV was on this particular beer, put in my Big Tide glass, but they estimated it about, like, looking at the brewery records, they figured it was about 6%. Oh, that's brown. Ooh. Whoa, did I pour too much? Okay. Very dark brown. Got a tan head. Gratuitous tan head. It's dark to the point where you can't even make out the Big Tide logo on my glass. If you hold it up to the light, it comes up as like a bit of like a ruddy color, like it's sort of like a red, brown, perhaps more red, but very dark. It looks like a really nice hearty brown ale. Lots of head, and it's got a dense appearance to the head. I think this went on tap. This is Saturday, and it went on tap on Monday or something. So it's had a little while to carbonate because the Big Tide's breweries usually improving carbonate. Their beers are usually improving carbonation over the time that they have them in there because of how their pumping system works. But it's really nice. That's actually a very nice appearance beer. It's got a little bit of carbonation, not too much. Looks really nice. Let's give it a sniff. There's a mild smell of like a little bit of caramel. Subtle earthiness. Maybe a hint of honey. That could be my mind playing tricks and just smelling the caramel over again. It's not much though. You really have to dig at this one to really get some smell. There might be a slight floral citrus to the hops, but not a whole lot. It's kind of like that little bit of like earthy herbal. Maybe a bit of coffee. Interesting. Down the hatch. Oh, that's tasty. An earthy hop bitterness lingers through the back, coats the back of the mouth. There's a subtle amount of a tiny amount of grapefruit citrus. I'm thinking they may have used more than one type of hop, but I could be wrong. There's a little bit of like a pepperiness to that hop. But the malts are right there in the tip of the tongue. They're mild, but you get this bit of like a caramel, toasted grain, a roasted coffee bitterness along with that earthy bitterness. There's a little bit of sweetness there, but it's not very much. Well, that's really nice. It's very smooth drinking too. There's a little bit of the nuttiness there in the roasted bitterness. And you don't really pick up a lot of the honey, but some of that, a little bit of an extra sweetness to it, may be a honey taste. But other than that, it's actually a really easy drinking good tasting brown ale. A lot stronger in flavor than your than the likes of Nuki Brown, but compared to other nut brown ales, that's pretty darn good. There's like a, as you drink it, there's that toasted grain quality in the aftertaste as it dries out your mouth, and there's also a little bit of that, like that woody nuttiness to it. That's really good. I'm gonna pour myself another glass and I'll sit down and come back with some thoughts. Be right back. And I'm back with Big Tide Brewery's Kingston Honey Nut Brown. And I'm back with Big Tide Brewery's Kingston Honey Nut Brown Ale. So, what did I think about this particular beer? Not bad. I gotta say, I really like basically the basic flavors of it. I like a good brown ale where the malt flavors and the actual flavors to the beer jump out at you a little bit more than a basic nut, like a basic brown ale like Nuki Brown. I find that one, the malt flavors were a little subdued and mixed in with some strange fruity kind of qualities. And when this one warmed up, I actually did get like a bit of like a red fruit quality to the back of it. This one actually jumped out with a lot of caramel malt and a subtle woody nuttiness to it. The big thing I gotta say against this one is that for a honey beer, the honey really doesn't jump out at you. I mean, it's a little sweeter than your typical brown ale. Not too sweet. It's not like an incredibly sweet beer, not a cloyingly sweet beer. It's a nice, gentle, sweet beer. But for something that advertises that it's got honey in it, it doesn't really have a lot of honey in the flavor. It mixes really well into the caramel bitterness, or sorry, the caramel and the roasted coffee the bitter coffee flavors that you get in this one, along with that earthy bitterness. I mean, you really can't tell that extra sweetness is from honey. But it is really nice, and actually I'm sitting down on my third glass of this. This is really good. So I'm at a little bit of a loss, I think, to say what I think about this one. I guess the beer I could really compare this one most to is Garrison's Nut Brown, and I had a fresh bottle of Garrison Nut Brown recently. It's definitely better than this, but this one's got a nice fresh taste to it too. Another one I could compare it to is Propeller's Honey Wheat Ale. Not only is that one a honey wheat, that it had some nice North American style hop flavors that really piqued my interest, whereas this one is coming off as very British with the amount of earthy hops that this has got. I think in the end I'm going to give this one a 3.75 out of 5. It's not the best brown ale in the world, nor is really brown ale a real style of beer that me personally like. But I gotta say that this has got to be one of the best ones of the whole pack. But I wouldn't necessarily call it world class. I just call it darn good, and definitely recommend you go down and try this if you're down there. But there's a number of beers that Big Tide has that if they happen to be on tap at the time, definitely pick them up. Like Seaworthy IPA or Tidal Wave Double IPA, or even the Celtic Mist Irish Red is really good as well. This one's really good. I mean, it's almost 4 quality for me, but I'm going to back off a little bit and say 3.75 out of 5. So, anyway, thanks for watching Maxwell Starr's beer review of Kingston Honey Nut Brown Ale from Big Tide Brewery here in St. John, New Brunswick. We'll talk to you guys later. Cheers.